If there's one thing you guys know me for, it's Toadette, aka the pink mush girl that always makes me simp like crazy. Every time I boot up Mario Kart, I always pick her. That adorable face, pigtails, voice, literally everything about her is so cute! But you're probably wondering, how do you win with this little pink goober in a game so heavily dominated by the Yoshi meta? How do you turn that depressing little frowny face into eternal joy? And most importantly, can you have fun maining her? Well, fear not, toadsters. This is how to win with Toadette in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. To start, let's go over what Toadette is like in this game. She's a small lightweight that sports low speed, but in exchange, her handling and mini turbo stats are most impressive. Despite her lack of traction, she also sports excellent acceleration, making it easier for her to get out of hit stun. Her small size is also advantageous. It allows her to avoid certain obstacles and squeeze through tight corners. She also tends to do well on curvy-esque tracks like the Yoshi Circuit or ones filled with shortcuts like DK Summit. Toadette also has plenty of aesthetic perks to talk about. For one, she is the cutest character in the game, bar none. Her pink appearance and signature pigtails make her stand out, and she sounds so joyful whenever she races. The only downside is that her sassiness was toned down just a teensy bit.
Okay.
Now that we've picked the Mush Girl, it's time to pair her with the most important thing in Mario Kart: combos. No, not those types of combos. I'm talking about card combinations. When starting out, players often pick carts based on how cool they look. I mean, why wouldn't you pick this sexy limousine or these shiny gold tires? But as everyone knows, the best combos in this game are completely defined by one word: stats. Choosing the proper card in this game is the difference between life and death. Even the smallest of differences can have such a cataclysmic effect. So, in order to get the max potential out of using Toadette, we need to make the right card for her. In that case, making the best combo for our beloved Toadette is pretty straightforward. First, you should always choose a card that maximizes both mini turbo and acceleration. Secondly, take advantage of Toadette's small size by pairing her with the smallest card or bike possible. And finally, always pick the freaking roller wheels. Thus, we are left with two options: Toadette on the Bitty Buggy or Mr. Scooty. I personally have an easier time controlling the Bitty Bud, but the scooter has a smaller hurt box and is less exposed to getting hit. Plus, I love riding scooters IRL. But for now, I would argue that her best combo is Toadette Bitty Buggy. The latter is easy for beginners and has an excellent mini turbo for learning to drift. However, when you get to the lobbies with higher VR, it's better to use Mr. Scooty for the aforementioned reasons. Aside from the most obvious picks, other good alternatives include Toadette on the Bitty Buggy or even the Pipe Frame. The former has the niche of blending in with the metagamers, even when you're fighting against a pack of dinos. Meanwhile, the latter is another great choice, given its small hurt box and ease of control. For me, I tend to use both of them whenever I'm burnt out with the Bitty Buggy, but overall, just stick with the Bitty Bud. Before we get to the race itself, one critical thing we have to consider are the opponents you're up against. Since players come from all over the world, there are 3 types of worldwide lobbies to focus on. And while lobbies also tend to be filled with a plethora of countries, I'll be judging this based on the majority nationality of the players involved. First, let's start with NA lobbies. These tend to be the easiest lobbies for Toadette to do well in, for a variety of reasons. For one, there's less item lag on the home turf, meaning that you have a lot more safety whenever you race. There's also way more combo variety, and regionals in the US make the game feel balanced. You could pick up any combo that you want with Toadette and have a good time partying in the USA. On the other hand, European lobbies are a bit more difficult. Due to being overseas, there is a noticeable difference when it comes to lag, making races slightly more challenging. This is also where stuff like coin count and item RNG start to matter a lot more. Nevertheless, the skill level here isn't too different compared to NA, and you can still put up a decent fight without the meta. However, Japanese lobbies are by far the most difficult and the most Kaizo-like out of the bunch. These players often grind the game to the fullest and utilize insane strats to win. The lag here is also evil, as you often get hit out of thin air or easily fall victim to the racer in front of you. One single mistake or hit is more than enough to tank your race, and it's incredibly easy to lose loads of VR. It's still possible to win, but you need incredible levels of skill and dedication in order to do so. With all this in mind, let's get ready to hit the racetrack. When lap 1 begins, it may be tempting to get to the front and lead the pack straight away, but that's actually what you shouldn't do. Similarly to how using all your energy at the start of a marathon leads to you falling behind, it's hard to front run when most of the racers you're up against have speedier stats. Instead, try to avoid as many racers as you can. This is because players often engage in close quarters combat, leading to sheer item chaos and getting hit everywhere. While doing this strat may be slow, I would much rather chill near the back than get redded. That said, once you have enough personal space, focus on maximizing your coin counter. Getting coins helps alleviate Toadette's low speed and makes it easier to drive more optimally. Even if others rob the cash before you do, don't worry. Coins are spread out all over the racetrack and always tend to respawn after a little while. If you don't see any coins in one section, skip it and move on to the next part of the track. Next, it's even more crucial to drift with Toadette. Performing mini turbos and tricking off as many ramps as possible allows you to keep up and hold your own. And to ensure that your speed stays consistent, always try and chain your mini turbos effectively. However, one thing to note is that drifting for too long can leave you exposed to getting hit. As such, it's much safer to go for small drifts at first, while doing ultra mini turbos when you're farther away. It takes a bit of practice to do this effectively, but it's pretty straightforward nonetheless. Subsequently, this is why Toadette excels on easy terrain and curvy tracks. Take Daisy's Circuit as an example. The short length, twists and turns, and a plethora of boosting panels make it a perfect recipe for the pink cutie pie. The list goes on. Yoshi's Circuit, Royal Raceway, and New York Minute are all examples of Toadette's home turf. In those cases, she can be better to use compared to heavier weight classes, as they can't take advantage of their speed as much. But overall, as long as you try to play smart, collect coins, and focus on your player skills, lap 1 becomes a lot easier. Now, we're on to lap numero dos. I like to view this lap as the calm before the storm for a variety of reasons. It gives you time to adapt to the racetrack and identify optimal pathways you can take to get ahead. Shortcuts in particular give so much breathing room whenever you're falling behind. You can even snipe people, get OP items, or repeat previous techniques for better safety. But the most important thing about lap 2 is that it's the easiest part of the entire race to front run. You can hold on to first place by chaining blue mini turbos and preventing racers from targeting you. And the more you solidify that position, you have more room to fall later on. By contrast, the other two laps are literally quote-unquote end-all, be-all, and both are way more intense compared to this lap. Amping up your racing game here literally prepares you for the apocalypse. Overall, the milder nature of lap dos grants you endless opportunities. You can go for first, take more shortcuts, and fortify your mind, so go for it! And if you still need motivation for drifting well, our beloved Toadette sounds even more happy whenever she does it. And finally, lap 3 is the part that makes or breaks your entire race. If you're front running, it's best to keep going for mini turbos so that Toadette can move faster. Additionally, carrying an item always deters everyone else and helps you avoid spam attacks. This is further helped by always going for the double item boxes. Oh, and if you get a super horn in first place, always keep it. Enough said. Now, if you're in the middle of the pack, get out of there ASAP. This is where people attack each other the most, bump each other around, and steal precious item boxes that you desperately need. Simply put, being there is a very bad idea. Fortunately, because Toadette is small, it's easier for her to avoid most racers compared to other characters. And if you have mushrooms on hand, you can use them all to yeet yourself out of that mess. Finally, if you're in last place, it may seem like a lost cause, but fear not.
You just gotta believe!
Catching up doesn't just rely on perfect drifting, but also getting good items. Even if you don't get hit once, you can still lose due to bad RNG. So, it's important to go for as many double item boxes as you can. If you're able to get a gold mushroom, a bullet bill, or a star, it helps like a Hail Mary. Toadette can easily speed ahead using these items, and in the case of the latter two, you can get a shock dodge. Since everyone gets utterly bamboozled whenever that happens, it puts the pink marshmallow in a great position to win. That, and getting the shock item itself just feels so free. To cap things off, add in a little shortcut or two while you're at it. Even though it can absolutely sting to botch it, the reward feels so satisfying whenever it works out. But even when the finish line is in plain sight, even when you're in the home stretch, there's still plenty of work to be done. There have been plenty of times where I've just been an inch away, only to get hit and lose the entire race. You want to close it out as fast as possible. So, what do you do? Well, it depends. If you're far ahead, you can stroll down the sidewalk and call it a day. That's the casual way to finish. Or, if there are some racers behind you, you can snipe them like there's no tomorrow. That's a toxic way to finish. And finally, if you're fighting for your life, on the edge of your seat, and just need to escape the tornado that's about to eat you up, you gotta drift, and drift, and drift, and then close it out. That's the intense way to finish Toadsters. However, not every race of hers is sunshine and rainbows, because even when you play perfectly, you can still get utterly jinxed. I know, it does feel very miserable and disappointing to get screwed over at the last second and lose. In fact, I've lost and lost and lost plenty of times to count. So, with all of this despair in mind, this leads us into the next section, Toadette's disadvantage. It's the true definition of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, Toadette's fast acceleration means she can get out of hit stun quicker, and she isn't as prone to combos due to her small hurt box. But on the other hand, if she gets hit once, she'll be swatted all the way to dead last. Unlike with Yoshi's weight class, her slow speed makes it harder to reclaim the lead, and she can even get bumped around. To make matters even worse, her invincibility literally got nerfed in the DLC patches. Just why? And if all this chaos occurs on the final lap, the odds of her recovering feel very, very slim. Although Toadette suits well with drifting, speed-based tracks tend to work against her. Take Moonview Highway for instance. This track is all about hitting the boost panels and moving like a hedgehog, meaning that Toadette can't mini-turbo as much and gets outsped. But the most evil part about Toadette's disadvantage is getting shocked. In a split second, you lose all of your precious items and coins, which ironically is the least of your concerns. Next, tricking and drifting become nigh impossible, and worst of all, moving as slow as a snail. I've lost plenty of races as Toadette just because of the shock alone. All this leads to Toadette having a pretty rough disadvantage, and having a harder time escaping it due to being a bit sluggish. So, that begs the question, how do you get out of this slump and start winning again with our beloved Toadette? Well, I have one word: consistency. We need to focus on achieving success and happiness over a plethora of races, and thankfully, there's so many Toadniques to choose from. First, if you ever feel lost, always recall the very things Toadette excels at. Although I've repeated these words a million times by now, Memorizing them greatly helps with adjusting your playstyle to better fit said character. You can go into races with the knowledge beforehand of Toadette lore. And that's not all, because say hello to time trial mode. Much like training in Smash Bros, this allows you to take shortcuts, optimize your racing abilities, and so on. I've spent countless hours racing with Toadette for the sole purpose of getting better. Since all 96 tracks in the game vary in terms of difficulty, you can easily identify the tracks you lose on the most. For instance, it's always easy to do well on Daisy Cruiser, whereas on Ninja Hideaway, it becomes way harder. In that case, always try to practice on the more challenging tracks, and try racing against ghosts that use the meta. That said, knowing your way around is great for your mentality. In a similar vein, learning how to utilize OP items to the absolute fullest can change a heck of a lot. All this improves your ability to stage comebacks with Toadette, and better prepares you to handle intense situations. Whenever you grind, it may seem impossible to win with a lightweight in the realm of Mario Kart. I totally understand how crushing it is to be beaten by the same character over and over and over again. However, thinking negatively won't help. It only causes you to play worse and worse. And that all brings me to my final point. No matter how bad or stressful life gets, never let one loss consume you and ruin the fun. I've been spewing facts and stats to help you achieve the best possible Toadette experience. I've shown you how Toadette's combo, drifting abilities, and clever racing techniques can help propel you to victory. And while Toadette may have a noticeable disadvantage compared to other characters, you can still be motivated to win via the power of consistency. But if there's one thing that remains factual, Toadette will always be an adorable Pinkie Pie no matter what. So long as you know how to cool off, rekindle your enjoyment, and commit to getting better, you will become a masterette in due time. Hey, maybe one day you'll watch this guide and become the biggest Toadette player of all! And with 8 pages of non-stop Toadette lore stuck in your brain, let's go!